Good morning, everyone. My name is Kate Kirkwood, and I'm delighted to be your worship associate this morning. We acknowledge that our FirstU campus is located on traditional, unsurrendered, and unceded Algonquin Anishinaabeg territory, and that the work of reconciliation is a responsibility of our congregation and of all Canadians. Our goal is to educate ourselves and all who have ears to hear, to be of service to those who are at risk, and to advocate for justice.
Thank you, Kate. Good morning, everyone. As we begin this morning's reflection on what reconciliation in action both means and might look like, what it does look like, we let our chalice this morning to these words by Dorothy Mae Emerson. A wise person once said, "Take from the past not its ashes, but its fire." Today we kindle this flame knowing that our presence forms a bridge between the past and the future. May the flame we light in our hearts today draw strength from the best of our liberal religious heritage. May it empower us to act boldly for justice in our world, and may it shine brightly in our lives as a beacon for future generations. Our chalice is lit. Come, let us worship together, and let us start by singing. Our opening song this morning is "Bend the Ark." The words will be on the screen above me before our story for our morning.
So this is not something from our hymnal, but you'll see the words behind you there. It's going to start as a call and response. So the verses will be call and response. The chorus you can all sing along with, and these wonderful choir members behind me will help you know when to start singing that. And there is a little optional clapping too. So, read the words now? Not yet. That's all right. Let's rise as you are able in spirit or in body. Here we go. The words are up. All right. So, bend the ark and break the ceiling.
Bend the ark and break the ceiling.
Human rights for human beings.
Human rights for human beings.
Bend the ark and break the ceiling.
Bend the ark and break the ceiling.
Human rights for human beings.
Human rights for human beings.
Bend the ark, bend the ark. 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 Bend the ark and break the ceiling.
Bend the ark and break the ceiling.
Human rights for human beings.
Human rights for human beings.
Bend the ark and break the ceiling.
Bend the ark and break the ceiling.
Human rights for human beings.
Human rights for human beings.
Bend the ark, bend the ark. 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 Bend the ark and break the ceiling.
Bend the ark and break the ceiling.
Human rights for human beings.
Human rights for human beings.
Bend the ark and break the ceiling.
Bend the ark and break the ceiling.
Human rights for human beings.
Human rights for human beings.
Bend the ark, bend the ark. 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 Thank you.
I'm going to skip ahead in the program now. We'll come back, don't worry. Our story will be offered today by one of our guests, so I'm going to introduce our guests to you now. I'd like to introduce Billy Akavak, if you would wave, Billy, Manager of Food Security, and Sandra Thibodeau, Sandra is sick. She was going to be in today. She spent most of last night in emergence. We're thinking of her. We're sorry she couldn't make it, but completely understand she needs to rest more than she needs to be among us. I also wanted to introduce Rhonda Huneault, the Director of Community Services at TI. This is an Inuit group in town. All three have been working together for at least the last 5 years here in Ottawa with the urban population here of Inuit. Ottawa, as you may well know, has the largest population of Inuit outside the north, with approximately 4,000 to 5,000 Inuit calling the greater Ottawa area home. TI has delivered some type of food security for Inuit since it opened in 1987. However, the pandemic forced TI to reimagine the way they supported their community. Having noticed the increase in food security due to the sharp rise in the cost of housing and food, TI created a whole new food security program made for Inuit by Inuit. They distribute grocery-bought food and traditional foods every 2 weeks to over 600 Inuit and their families. TI is an Inuit-specific urban service provider that offers community support for Inuit of all ages, finding their way through the urban systems and getting the support they need is what TI provides. TI is there for each Inuk as they build their life here in the South. As someone from the States, I have to get used to that phrase, here in the South. Changing perspective is really, really important in education. TI works to keep them connected to their culture and navigate this southern landscape. TI has 5 locations in Ottawa and an office in Toronto. Their head office is within walking distance of us here. And they also have a knowledge center that is a collection of Inuit teachings, conversations, and observations for urban Inuit across Ontario that can be accessed on their website, tiontario.ca. Billy and Rhonda, please come forward now if you will. We'll go from this to the story, but I want to give each of you a packet of tea. And you can decide who gets the big one. Maybe that's Sandra, maybe that's you, Billy, I don't know. And this is where it becomes a little bit of differently angled nepotism. My uncle has written a book called Building Community Food Webs. He's been a writer in food security for decades now. I'm hoping to bring him out this April or May to speak to all of us. He's really, really good. And so, to you, that book. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And do you have a story for us now, Rhonda? Is that going to work?
Like this story?
Yeah, that story.
Yes,
You'll do the sermon part later, but I wanted to introduce you before you did the other.
Okay.
So I'm spinning things around and keeping everyone on their toes.
Yes. So I'm actually really loud, so I'm not used to being on a mic, but
We're going to give you a mic anyhow for the folks who are watching off.
oh yes. So Sandra works with children and youth at TI, and her role today was going to be to read a book to the children. So I will do that for Sandra. I'm really sorry that it's not Sandra because she's just really wonderful at doing these kinds of things. So I will be reading this book today to all of you, but mostly to the children. The book is called Phyllis's Orange Shirt. We also brought a lot of Indigenous books to donate to the church today from our Kamatsianik program, which is a program that works with children and youth who are in care. So we're very happy to share those books with the children here, and the adults who would also like to read them, feel free. Little Phyllis lived with her granny on the Dog Creek Reserve. They would pick berries, garden, and catch fish to preserve. There were not many kids with whom Phyllis could play because they went to residential school far, far away. One day, Granny took Phyllis to town. It was exciting to see so many people around. Granny took Phyllis to a shop full of clothes, with hats for your head and socks for your toes. Phyllis picked out a shirt that was so orange, shiny, and bright, and Granny bought it for her to wear with delight. On the first day of residential school, Phyllis just couldn't wait. She wore her orange shirt so that she would look great. But when she arrived, her mood started to change. The place was so cold, unfriendly, and strange. Her bright orange shirt was taken away, and she worried about how long she would stay. At public school, she was taught how to read and write neatly by her teacher, who treated her so very sweetly. Phyllis liked her teacher but missed her granny so bad, along with the garden and home that she had. And then when summer finally arrived, Phyllis returned to the home where she thrived. We wear our orange shirts to remember that every child matters, and not just in September. We honor our First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people and reflect on how every child is special and deserves our respect. I want to read the excerpt that's written in the back of the book because it explains a little bit what the book was. So September the 30th is Orange Shirt Day. Today the residential schools have closed for good. Phyllis and her family learn about and celebrate their culture. Phyllis knows what it means to be Northern Secwepemc and is proud of who she is and who her people are. Each year on September 30th, many people, including Phyllis, wear bright orange shirts, which I see today, some of you wearing, to honor residential school survivors and their families. Orange Shirt Day kicks off with talks about anti-racism and bullying at the beginning of each school year. Phyllis's true story is only one among many. We must listen to these stories, and we must learn from our past. By doing so, we can walk into the future without making the same mistakes again. When we wear our orange shirts on Orange Shirt Day, also called the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, we reaffirm that every child matters, the children from every nation around the world, the residential school survivors, and the First Nation, Métis, and Inuit children who didn't come home. Nakomik.
Thank you, Rhonda, Billy. We look forward to hearing from you both in just a few minutes. Let us sing our children out now, as we often do, and then we will continue with our service.
You
Thanks, Jen and Kip. Do take care and take advantage of online opportunities at FirstU to stay in touch with us during this time. If you are new to FirstU and would like to learn more about us, please contact us through our email, welcome@firstunitarianottawa.ca. Now, you may have tried to reach us that way and not got a response because we have been having some technical problems with this email, but those have now been resolved, and you will hear from us soon with our apologies. If you're right here in Worship Hall and would like more information about FirstU, it's available at the welcome table at the back of the pews. And a note about COVID precautions. Everyone is still welcome to mask as you feel comfortable. And now here is Brent from our board to highlight our announcements for today. Thanks, Brent.
Thank you, Kate. Good morning, everyone. The board is pleased to announce the appointment of Nancy Cloutier as a director, member at large, for the congregation, replacing a vacancy on an interim basis. There she is at the back there, until the next annual general meeting. There were other appointments in the EUU, but please join me now in welcoming Nancy to the board. On Tuesday of next week, Justine de Jager will lead an interesting panel discussion on book banning in Canada and the United States and its impact on democracies. You can join the discussion here live in Worship Hall or live streamed via YouTube, Tuesday, October 3rd at 7:30 p.m. A reminder to mark your calendars for this year's Fall Fair, our big community fundraiser. Our website has details on, fundraiser is on Saturday, November 18th. Mark your calendars there. Our website has details on what things we would like donated for the sale and also how to volunteer before, during, and after the sale. On Thursday, October 5th, there will be an unveiling of the mural that the Ajashki Future Food Warriors have set up in our outdoor space, in our garden space. Thursday, October 5th, an RSVP is required. The congregation is welcome, but we would like an RSVP. If you are interested in attending, Lynn is at the back and can give you details of how to RSVP. We'd like that RSVP by this Thursday so that we have an idea of numbers for next Thursday. And now here is Jane to talk about adult learning.
Thanks, Brent. I just want to quickly draw your attention to the fact that we now have a listing of fall adult learning events. So one of them is the one Brent named about book launch. You can get it in hard copy at the back, and it's on the web. I also want to highlight a couple of activities in it. In particular, and there's this flyer on it at the back, starting on October 5, for 5 sessions in the evening, we're holding what we call map making, navigating or exploring your spiritual journey at FirstU. It's great for newish people, but it's also great for longish time people, and we've already got people of both ilks, we might say, involved. So if you're interested in that, please contact us, as it said. And I'm going to do just a quick heads up on behalf of Welcome and Membership. If you've previously ordered some of these name tags, know that you need to pick it up at the welcome table. Thanks.
And here's Donna from the Environmental Action Group for her announcements.
Hi, everybody. I'm Donna Bowen-Willer. Well, yesterday, summer officially came to a close as our sun passed directly over the celestial equator on its journey south, Mary Mabon, and as we mark the autumnal equinox and our days become shorter, we're called to reflect on the events of the past season and prepare for what's to come. Some of us may have managed to do that at yesterday's sustainability showcase, seeking out a more sustainable future. And some of us celebrated a hard-fought victory when the Premier announced the reversal of the Greenbelt decision. One huge... So that's one step in the right direction, and there are many more to take in Ontario, but it's giving everybody hope, and I know there are lots of celebrations going on, and there were hundreds of thousands of people participated in that fighting back. And take a look at the climate page. There's some photos of the strike. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Jane. We encourage you to sign up to receive the EUU, our weekly email newsletter. Check our Facebook page and our web page for notices and updates. Our calendar is as full as ever, albeit much of it is online. This morning, each of us is welcome. We, of any heritage or faith, whatever our burdens, of any culture or race, of any gender or orientation, in any body, all that we are. Today, we are all a part of this spiritual community.
Thank you, Brent. A few words about our future before we go into our traditional time of joys and sorrows. I've been thinking about this building and the legacy of this community, this congregation, even more the last couple weeks as I've begun meeting with the family of this congregation's longest-serving minister, the Reverend Brian Kopke. His memorial service will be at 10 o'clock on Saturday, October 28th. As you may remember, he died on December 31st, at the very end of last year. Brian came to this congregation 18 years after we moved into this space. That's a long time ago now. How does 53 years go by so quickly? Was anyone around when we moved into this space in 67? One! Gold star, gold star, gold star. You were a baby then, weren't you? Yeah. Like we've got a baby here. Who knows what Kip will say in years to come? Mom's going to say, I'm going to need new glasses real soon. We can do so much more when we come together. Build spires, build vistas that someday will be restored. We'll see. And I'm thinking about my father, who died at 60 years old of pancreatic cancer. I've been thinking him a lot as I became 59 years old just a month or so ago, what my legacy will be. And it's not going to be in mortar and stone, I don't think. It's going to be in helping people improve the quality of their lives and their relationships with one another. I guess there was a building project at my first congregation that I served, and I may have a little to do with the building that we have on tap here as well. But really, the legacy I want is on quality in relationships and people wanting to feel that they are living their fullest, most meaningful lives. And to do that, it takes commitment. And part of that commitment is financial. So I am here to say we are kicking off the congregation's annual pledge drive. I know some of you have already put in your pledge. My wife and I are among them. We got in an early bird thing. We had a gummy worm to celebrate. I don't know if there are any gummy worms left, but it's better in theory than in practice, perhaps, so you're okay. What we can do together is limited only by our imaginations and our willingness to be generous to one another. So please, at whatever level you can, please make a pledge. And may the best of this congregation come in the decades just a little bit further from now. Be as generous as you can. The future will thank you. And Kip, if they're around, will thank you. And now, move on to a different topic. Each week we pause in our time together in both recognition of the joys and sorrows and challenges of our lives. And in honor of each of them, we place a stone in a bowl of water. As the ripples extend outward, we can imagine them continuing out beyond the small bowls in front of us, out through and past our pews, out into the larger community of all. Now, a few weeks ago, I began by offering a rare sports version of our joys. Today, I have good news to share on the environmental front. Donna kicked off with our Premier's decision. I have another bit of news as well, that our province is abandoning plans to build a gas power plant in the city of Thorold after their local city council voted unanimously to reject the project. I understand that many from this congregation were among those speaking out, writing, and protesting that site's construction. So a stone for good work for all. Problem hasn't gone away, but we're making it. We need thoughtful, right solutions, not going back to what we've tried before. And now a dear sorrow to share with all of you. A stone of sympathy to Alexandra and James on the death of their son, Graham. He had been living with health concerns for some time and died on the 22nd. Graham was the husband of Trudy, the father of Kenneth, and brother of Karen and Janet. Please come forward now if you have a joy or sorrow you would like to address. You can place a stone in one of our bowls of water. Please come forward now. caring card for Alexandra and James is at the back of the hall for us to sign after this service. The caring table back in the corner. Even if you don't know them, your signature on that card is a way for us to extend our care on behalf of those who have given so much to this community of faith. And now, another video musical reflection for us all. Rhonda, Billy, we want to hear what you have to say to us this morning. What does the guy used to say? Come on down?
Good morning. Thank you for inviting us today to share some stories about truth and reconciliation. I grew up in a small community in Nunavut called Huneault. It used to be called Lake Harbor. When I grew up, there were about 400 people in the community. All the children attended, went up to grade 9. And if you wanted to continue education to high school, we had to go to Iqaluit, Frobisher Bay back then. We lived in a residence there for school, for the school year. We went home for Christmas and summer breaks. We could call our families and friends back home anytime we wanted to. We could also get weekend passes to stay at families and friends in Iqaluit if we had family there. I didn't know about residential schools and their negative effects on my people when I was growing up. People weren't talking about it then. I also found out residential schools and the things that happened there when I came to Ottawa when I was 22 to attend Tungasuvvingat, or NS for short. NS, Tungasuvvingat, means our land is our future. NS is a place here in Ottawa committed to providing Inuit youth with the best possible post-secondary academic and cultural learning experiences. Throughout the length of the program, students participate in activities designed to support the development of a vital set of knowledge, skills, and positive attitudes that will allow them to successfully contribute to the world as young adults. Today I wanted to share the importance of teaching children and all the people the truth about Indigenous experiences, including residential schools, and the lasting impact that it has on my people and our culture. It can be very hard or impossible for community members to teach to their children because they also don't know what happened, or they don't want to talk about it, or they could even be in denial. That's why it is important to learn from the Indigenous people who can share the truth. There is no reconciliation without truth. Nakumik. Thank you.
Nakumik, Billy. Hi, everyone, again. Thank you, Reverend Eric and Sharon, for making this happen today. We're very honored to share a few words with the congregation about truth and reconciliation. So you may be wondering what a non-Indigenous person has to say about truth and reconciliation and why I am here today. I have been working with Inuit for almost 10 years now, both in Nunavut and here in Ottawa at Tungasuvvingat Inuit. I'm learning about my role in truth and reconciliation every day. As Billy shared, I also believe that there is no reconciliation without the truth. And that truth lies with the lives and stories of Indigenous people. I have learned that it is not the responsibility of Indigenous people to teach non-Indigenous, but rather our responsibility to observe and seek that truth through reading, writing, investing in communities, and having a curious mind rather than one that may be full of untruths. I grew up in a small town about an hour outside of Ottawa. I called myself a late bloomer because I didn't go to college until I was 35. I also hadn't heard the word residential school until I went to college. I remember very clearly how alarmed I felt. My mind went from, is this true? To why didn't I know? To I've been lied to my whole life. I was profoundly disturbed, and I'll never forget this day for the rest of my life. Thankfully, I began my process of unlearning and learning that very day. I also started the learning of white privilege that I have and what I could represent to Indigenous people because of the negative experiences that they have faced and still face at the hands of people who look like me. I didn't know then that I would end up working with Inuit in their homeland. This was a profound experience for me. I spent about 18 months working in a community in Nunavut called Kingite, or Cape Dorset. I met some of the most incredible people there, and I'm grateful that I have come to see them again here in Ottawa. This was also when I learned firsthand about the legacy of residential schools and how it still impacts even the newest generations of Inuit. I also learned about the effects of colonization on people who survived up until then by being nomadic and self-reliant. The biggest takeaway I have from learning about how Inuit were forcibly relocated, their dogs slaughtered, forced to live in fixed communities and sent to residential or day schools, would be that the government and the people who forever changed the way of life for Inuit continue to contribute to those difficulties that they experience to this very day. They destroyed their way of living by building homes and infrastructure that barely sustained the population then, and so many communities still have to try to survive with that inadequate infrastructure today. The colonizers had a particular goal to relocate Inuit for their own purpose, and then once that purpose was accomplished, they walked away. The way I look at it, if I caused harm to someone, I would stick around to find out how I could repair that harm. So these days, I work and live in Ottawa. I spend most of my days working with and learning from the vibrant and growing community of Inuit that call Ontario home. I am part of their community. I'm not a community member because that means you are Inuk or Inuit. However, I do feel welcome and trusted by the community. I never forget that I still create some difficulty with my presence, that I still have a lot to learn, and it's my responsibility to keep learning. I also never forget that I am grateful. Grateful that Indigenous communities are willing to walk down a path of reconciliation with non-Indigenous people. Grateful that they are brave, resourceful, powerful, joyful, and generous to share some of the most painful truths and joyous celebrations of culture with the world. I cannot imagine what our world would be like if Indigenous people did not survive colonization, although I have some idea because they did succeed in wiping out some Indigenous groups of people. When I think of this attempted genocide, what comes to mind is an ember that is sort of glowing, and then beautiful oxygen blows in and the flame ignites. I see those flames of life and energy every day. Billy is one of my best friends. He's always been this flame for me. And so have many other community members that inspire me every day to keep learning and keep working, like our beautiful elder that joined us today. One parting quote. Billy told me about a book. It's called Lutiapik. It was supposed to mean nice nurse, but she may have forgotten how to pronounce it because it actually should be Lutarapik. This book is about a nurse named Dorothy who worked in the Arctic and actually worked with some of Billy's family. She said, "The most sensible way of handling the kind of ignorance you've brought to the Arctic, Dorothy, is to impose on others it as little as possible." When I read that, I knew exactly what Dorothy meant. I was her, ignorant and in the Arctic, and I did impose it on others. And then I didn't. I left the Arctic because I could no longer work in a role that I was in and do no harm. So now I'm less ignorant, and I can work in a way that I feel good about most of the time. I work for the Inuit community, and they are my guides. Together, we are moving forward. Nekelmik, Chi-miigwech, and Marcy, to all the Indigenous people who teach by being their authentic selves. I am learning, and I am unlearning. Thank you.
Rhonda, Billy, thank you. And as we together move forward with our partners in the Ontario Aboriginal Housing Services, we are going to have to let them guide us as we learn how to work with them. So your message today speaks to our hearts. Thank you. And now let's hear from our choir. We have a special Inuit song. Oh, yes, and I know in the program we were going to be talking about our new grocery services. Lisa was going to lead with that. She is ill as well. We'll hear more about that in coming weeks. Thank you.
Sorry, one moment. Thought I had a little more time to get myself prepared. The piece that we're going to perform for you today, performed by Three Rivers, is by Cree composer Andrew Balfour, and it was inspired by his time spent in the north. It has two words in Inuktitut, Gilak, which means the sky, the heavens, paradise, and Tungunik, the reflection of open water in the sky at the horizon. I think we're ready.
I now invite the ushers to start passing the baskets. This congregation has a long history of care, vitality, and bringing people together to move the arc of justice forward. We've been able to live into our hopes and dreams because of the generosity of those within and beyond this community. Whether you are here in Worship Hall or anywhere else, you are part of this community. Today, our plate collection, unless you specify otherwise, will go entirely to support the vital work of TI. Tungasuvvingat, with my apologies to Billy, I tried. To make a gift, you don't need to use the baskets that are now beginning to make their way among our pews. Wherever you are invited to go to our website or contact our finance manager to find out how to make a donation or keep up with your pledge. Our gifts are freely given and gratefully received. We dedicate these gifts to the goals of this community of faith, serving human wholeness, caring for the planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, loving one another. And now the hymn.
For our second hymn, I'll invite, choir members to come to the front. Once again, this is one not from your hymnal, so you'll see words on the screen, hopefully soon. In this case, the refrain is going to be sung all together, and the verses will be a call and response. You can choose which of us to follow. Okay. We have sung this a couple times before, so hopefully the tune will be familiar to you. There we go. Okay. 2. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope.
Don't give up hope.
You're not alone.
You're not alone.
Don't you give up.
Don't you give up.
Keep moving on.
Keep moving on.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Lift up your arms.
Lift up your arms.
Don't you despair.
Don't you despair.
Look up ahead.
Look up ahead.
The path is there.
The path is there.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. I know you're scared.
I know you're scared.
And I'm scared too.
And I'm scared too.
But here I
But here I
am, right next to you.
am, right next to you.
You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope.
Don't give up hope.
You're not alone.
You're not alone.
Don't you give up.
Don't you give up.
Keep moving on.
Keep moving on.
We gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. We gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love.
And with some extra help. Before we begin to close this hour of worship and reflection, a reminder that coffee hour will begin in Fellowship Hall immediately after the service. If you're here for the first time, get my prop ready here, or have been here before but still feel a little new, we invite you to pick up a green mug. Looks just like this. It holds more than anybody else's mug will. Still true. I keep saying it. Still true. Pick up one of those and find some coffee, tea, or other beverages available at the counter. Your green mug will help us recognize you as someone who feels or is new or feels still new and allow us to greet you individually. For the newcomers here, we hope you come back and often. For those watching from home, an informal online fellowship hour will begin today at noon. You'll find the Zoom link on our church website or in the EUU, our Friday email newsletter. You can subscribe to the EUU on the communications page of the church website. Also, as always, leafy greens, courtesy of the good folks of Ajoski, are available for those who would like some from the grow towers in our old volunteer room just out and past Fellowship Hall. And now, as we prepare to extinguish our morning's chalice, these words from Richard Wagamise, may they be our guide, and they start with a bit of a bang. We wake to a day of worry, and even though we humankind are human creatures, have the greatest capacity for cruelty of any creature in creation, we humans also have the staunchest capacity for love, mercy, compassion, acceptance, forgiveness, empathy, and kindness. We are built for survival because of these virtues. We have hands to reach out to one another. We have inherent knowledge that we are one family. That, my friends, is our saving grace. And so our morning's chalice is extinguished, but the spark of our connections and faith remains. And now, as we have been doing so for quite some time, let us sing, though in full, both verses of Spirit of Life, first in English and then in French. The words will be up behind me.
Oh,
someday we may be singing that in Inuktitut. When I heard that on my first time visiting our cousins in faith in Transylvania, hearing that word as we were brought into the village by a horse-drawn cart, hearing that sung, that familiar song, sung in Hungarian, when it's translated, it means so much more. My friends, go in peace, go in love, go in joy, and may all be well. Actually, no, I do.